another video. By the title, you guys already know what we're doing. Today, we're going to be giving you guys some Netflix suggestions for those of you guys that have not watched these shows. Some of these shows may sound childish, may be childish. Some of these shows might not even be on Netflix anymore, but that's okay. Y'all can probably still watch them. But before we get started, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with everyone that you know. And also, I have a guest with me today. I'm with The Life of Love. But if you see this video on her channel, it's because we're filming on the same device. So we'll both be sharing the same content on both channels. But you guys can feel free to watch on her channel or mine or both if you're feeling generous to get our views up. But yeah, she's gonna do her intro, and if you see her looking at her phone, she's looking at her Netflix suggestions on her phone, and I wrote mine down on my notepad. And also make sure you guys go check out our most recent videos called A Night with My Bestie. Let's go get our views up on both channels. You will see that, and let's go ahead and just get started with the video. The first Netflix suggestion that I have is Last OG. This is a really funny show. I enjoy watching this show, to be honest, because, well, it's kind of about a man that just got out of jail, and he sees that his family has just started a whole new life without him, and everything's just changed from the last time he went out there. But it's a really good show, and I suggest you guys watch that one.
A show that I recommend watching is LA's Finest. Like, it's just so good. Like, it's about police officers, and there's one police officer. She got shot and all that by her friend, but she didn't know that it was her friend. And it was just a whole bunch, and it's a really good show.
The next Netflix recommendation that I have is Tall Girl. Probably a lot of you guys have already watched this movie, but it is a really good movie, and it kind of inspires a lot of people.
The next show I have is is Black and Crew New York. That show, like some people may have watched Black and Crew on TV, but this Black and Crew is what they first started, and it's just really good.
The next show that I have is The Circle. This show is really good. It's kind of like a competition show. It's not really like a show that you really have to pay attention to. It's more like a competition, and it's really good. They have The Circle France on there, and maybe a couple of other ones in there, but the USA one is really good, so I suggest go watching that.
The next show I suggest is Money Heist. Money Heist is a really good show. They do a lot of good burglaries, and they pull them off, and it's just a big burglary everywhere, and like in the most, like, how can I put that? I don't know, in like the most famous states in countries.
A lot of people have been telling me to watch that too, but I never watched it.
It's good.
The next show that I have for a Netflix recommendation is Jane the Virgin. This is a show that you really have to pay attention to, and it's a really good show. So far I have not finished it, but it is really good so far. I really enjoy watching the show, and my sister put me onto it, so yeah, you guys go check that one out.
The next show I recommend is The 100. That show, top notch. Can't nobody tell me nothing about that show. And it's a good show. Yeah, I rate it
a 100. That show is so good. It
broke the scale.
Yeah, that show is so good.
It's good.
The next movie that I recommend is Mowgli. If you've seen the Jungle Book, that is basically the perspective of Mowgli, the little boy. This movie is his perspective. But this movie is so good. It's just like the Jungle Book, but just through Mowgli's eyes. So yeah.
The next show I recommend is Vampire Diaries. I love Vampire Diaries. It's like 8 seasons, and I didn't watch all the seasons. It's over by like 6 times.
I tried to watch that. I tried to watch that, and I seen it had 8 seasons, and I said no. The next show that I recommend watching is F is for Family. It's kind of like an Adult Swim show that you'll see on Adult Swim, but it is so funny. It's so good, and it's a cartoon, so you guys should watch that.
The next movie I recommend is The F.It. List. I like The F.It. List.
The what?
The F.It. List. It's a good show.
The next movie that I recommend is Stepsisters. This movie is so good. It's kind of about like a sorority stepping, and then another sorority tries to start stepping, and then they ended up qualifying and all that, and they ended up winning an award for it. It's really good. So you guys go watch that.
Next show I recommend is Wentworth. Wentworth is like another
Orange is the New Black.
But to me it's better.
A lot of people say that, and I tried to watch that. I just tried to put you on that, but it was boring, so I didn't want to watch it no more.
I don't think that's it.
The next show that I recommend is Trinkets. I love that show. That show is so good, bro. It's about these girls stealing, and then they go to rehab or something, and then they start getting into stuff. It's a really good show, so you guys watch that.
The next show I recommend is Riverdale. I love Riverdale. I wait for them to come out with another season this year.
The next show that I recommend is America's Next Top Model. That show is really, really good. Like, it shows you how much work it takes to be a model. And Tyra Banks is in there. She's the host and one of the judges. So she kind of knows everything there is to know about modeling.
Next show I recommend is Dare Me. I like Dare Me. It's about these children in high school, and they just got a whole bunch going on.
The next show that I recommend watching is Cobra Kai. That show is so good, and a lot of people, when you first say karate shows, they're like, why do I even want to watch karate? I mean, unless you're into karate, but a lot of people are like, karate, no. But this show is really not really, it's based off of karate, but there's a whole like another thing going on. You guys should really watch that if you haven't already.
Next thing I recommend to watch is Get Even. I like Get Even. It's about these teenagers in private high school, and these girls, they teamed up to take down all the bad people at the school and all that.
The next show that I recommend watching is You. This show is so good. It's basically about, she's just now starting it, but this show is basically about a man who's stalking all his girlfriends and all her friends and ends up killing a bunch of people. It's really good. It's a really suspense kind of show but you have to pay attention. So yeah.
The next show I recommend is In the Dark. In the Dark is very, very good. Like, I don't know, my sister-in-law put me on, and like, it's just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's a good show.
The next show that I recommend is Bridgerton. This is a new show on there, and it's really good. It's basically about this girl meeting like certain people, and then she ends up falling in love with this person, and they ended up getting married, and it's a whole lot that goes on in that show. And they're coming out with a new season, probably. I don't know when, but that show is really good, so you guys should really start watching that.
The next movie I recommend is After. After is a good movie. It's like a romance movie. That's a good movie.
The next show that I recommend watching is Ink Master. This show is basically, well, it kind of explains itself. It's basically about tattooing, and it's a really good show if you're really trying to get into the tattoo industry and all that. It's really good. It's kind of a competition, actually, so yeah. If you're into the competition type shows, that's one of them that you should watch.
Next movie I would recommend is Designated Survivor, but it's a good movie.
The next show that I recommend is The Queen's Gambit. That show came out maybe a month ago, I think. But this show is really, really good. It's basically about this girl who learns how to play chess and all of that. It's a really good show, though, so you guys should watch it.
The next movie I recommend is The Stranger. Kind of scary, but it's a good movie.
The next show that I recommend is The Crown. This is basically a true story about Princess Diana, Queen Elizabeth, and all the rest of the family in the UK. It's a really good show, and it's about maybe 3 seasons or more, maybe. But it's a really good show that you guys should really start watching.
The next movie I would recommend is Bird Box. That's a good show. That's a good movie. Like, it came out a while ago, but it's still good.
Yeah, that show is, that movie is kind of like, it's kind of scary, to be honest, but it's really good. The next show that I recommend is Insatiable. Really, 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 really good. I've rewatched both seasons maybe 5 times. It is a really good show. And it's about this pageant girl who, she used to be fat, but she she became skinny and started doing pageants, and then she met this new pageant coach and all this. It's really good, to show.
Next movie I would recommend is For Color Girls. Like that
movie is so good.
That movie made me cry, but it's good.
That movie is really good. I
And
mean, it's
some
really
good
to
actors.
inspire African American girls. If you're, not to be racist or anything, but if you're like another race besides African American, maybe it's not really a movie for you to watch. But the next movie that I recommend is The Kissing Booth 1 and The Kissing Booth 2. That movie is really good, and I think that the first one is way better than the second one, to be honest. But it's really good, and most of you guys probably have already watched both of them.
The next show that I would recommend is Never Have I Ever.
Yes! I love Never Have I Ever. That show is really good.
They need to come out with another season like ASAP.
I watched that whole season in one night. That show was really good. The next show that I recommend is Border Security. This show is basically about the border, like the people who come in the border, how they check the mail and everything. And you'd be surprised what kind of stuff they find in the mail and people's bags and all that. It's a really good show.
Next show I would recommend is Girls Incarcerated. I like that show.
That show is funny. Really good, bro. Yeah, you gotta watch. The next show that I recommend is Teen Mom 2. They just put that on Netflix. Oh my god, that show is so good. And
the next show I would recommend is All American. They're supposed to be coming out with a new season this Monday.
I fell off of that show. That show started getting boring to me. But
not to me.
The next show that I recommend is Orange is the New Black. This show is so good. It's basically like Wentworth, but clearly to other people, Wentworth is better than that. But to me, Orange is the New Black is way better than Wentworth.
Next show I would recommend is Outer Banks. Outer Banks is a good show. To be honest, I only really watched by like 2 episodes, but it's still good.
A lot of people have been telling me to watch that, but I never did it yet, so yeah. The next show that I recommend is, it's a movie, and there's 2. It's To All the Boys I Loved Before and P.S. I Still Love You. Personally, I think P.S. I Still Love You is way better than the first one, and the movie is good, both of them, so yeah. Go watch that.
Next movie I would recommend is 17 again. That's a good movie.
Is that good?
Yeah. I like it.
Zac Efron. The next show that I would recommend is American Horror Story. Now, since all of the seasons are like season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4, I skipped certain seasons, but I have not finished all of them yet, so.
Next show I would recommend is Blood and Water.
Is that good?
Yes, I love Blood and Water. They just need to come out with another season. Like, their first season had about like 6 to 9 episodes. It is good.
Next show that I would recommend, it's a movie. It's called The Old Guard. This movie is pretty good. It's an action movie, and I really don't like action, but this is one of the action movies that I will watch, and it's a really good movie. So y'all go make sure you check that out.
Next movie I would recommend is First Match. I like First Match. It's about this girl. She in a foster care. She be hipping and hopping into places because she don't be acting right, and she know how to box and all that. And her dad got her to a lot of trouble.
The next show that it's a movie. The next movie I would recommend is What Happened to Monday. This movie is pretty good, and it's about a family. Her mom had more than one daughter. She had 7 daughters actually, and they all look alike, and they're all named, one of them is named Monday, one Tuesday, one Wednesday, and so on and so forth until it gets to Saturday. But it's really good, so yeah, y'all go watch that.
The next show I would recommend is Haters Back Off. I didn't watch that a few times.
That show is really good. I watched that so many times. It's about Miranda
She put
Sings.
me on that.
It's so funny. The show that I would recommend watching is Zumbo's Just Desserts. That show is basically about this, it's a competition show about baking, and he makes some like super duper cool desserts that you would like never ever see. That show is pretty good if you're into competition shows.
The show I would recommend to watch is How to Get Away with Murder. I like that show. Like, it's very cool, but some of them be making me mad.
When they had that come on TV, I did not like that. The next show that I will recommend is Sugar Rush. It's another baking show, and it's a competition show, which is basically really cool. And it's not really that hard to explain, but it's kind of hard to explain at the same time because it's not like Zumbo's just dessert. It's a little bit like there's teams, really. So it's a really good show.
The next show I would recommend is The Originals. I like The Originals. It's like something like Vampire Diaries. It's about vampires.
The next movie that I would recommend is Ava. Ava is a really good movie. Like, it's a really good action movie that I watch. And like I said, I'm not into action, but that's a really good action movie. So.
The next show I would recommend to watch is Deuces.
The next movie that I would recommend to watch is Dude. That movie is so good. It's about these 4 girls. They do, like, drugs and all kind of stuff. And they in high school and all kind of stuff. And they're trying to get into college or whatever. It is a really good movie. So really go watch that.
The next movie I would recommend is Good Girl, I'm gonna go around and take it on that. Yeah.
The next show that I would recommend watching is Victorious. That show is a classic. If you were like my age, I'm 15, or her age, 13. It came on Nickelodeon. That was a really good show.
Next movie I would recommend is Peppermint. I like Peppermint.
That is another good action movie.
Like, it's sad, but she got all of that good.
The next show that I would recommend is Johnny Test.
The next show I would recommend is Sam Cat. It's old and
it's another Nickelodeon network show. It's really good. It came out when Victoria's did.
Oh.
Okay, guys, so that was the end of our video, and I hope you guys all enjoyed some of the Netflix suggestions that we shared with you guys. And I hope you guys, after watching this video, maybe go watch some of them. They are really good, and I love all of them. So make sure you go watch them, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and her channel. And don't forget, this is The Life of Love, and her channel will be down there in the description down below. And subscribe.